Hello everybody. So I wanted to talk about truth in science. So I don't know about everybody, we might have all had slightly different scientific teachings through our school, in primary school, high school, even university. Vary a little bit, school to school, state to state, country to country, whatever. And so what I was taught was different to what you were taught. And so when I found a little bit of something on the internet that adds to my knowledge, I get quite happy about it. I'm like, well, this is good. This is like, well, I should have been taught this in school. And of course, one thing I always do when I find these little things is that I check and go, is this a hoax? Is this a conspiracy theory? Is this a fringe theory? And so I check the facts. I don't just blindly believe something that someone I don't even know is telling me without any proof. So one of these things that I found about a year ago was about the claim, I call it a claim, that the moon is not a moon. So I was like, oh, okay, so the claim the moon is not the moon. That's never heard that before. So it actually is quite a deep and detailed theory or claim. And essentially it says that the moon is half Earth, or part Earth at least. Might be 45%, might be 57, I can't remember the exact details, but certainly most of the moon, or a large section of the moon, is Earth, or was Earth. Now I check this out, I go, well, is this facts, or is this theory, or how much of a theory, how certain are we? And it's pretty much not disputed anywhere. Not seriously, at least. And in fact, it's not only that we claim this to be true, it actually explains a lot of things. So one of the things it explains is why we have an atmosphere and why the moon's important. So basically, without the moon, there is no possibility of having life on Earth. Not just because we have a chunk of rock circling around the Earth, but because that chunk of rock, half of it, used to be a chunk of Earth. And so they've got a magnetic connection. So it's a very mild magnet, but it's enough to keep the oceans in place essentially and stop us just floating around. So having the moon there is really important. And in fact, the moon, we know that the moon didn't exist until long after the Earth was. So Earth was there for, I think, 7 billion years, and the moon came around 4 billion years later. So we've only had the moon for about 3 billion years. Before that, there was nothing there, and there was no chance of having life. So in order to have life, a planet not only has to have a moon, but it has to have a moon that is part Earth, or part of the planet that it's surrounding. Perhaps there are other ways to have life, but certainly that's how we have life. And I was like, well, this is just fascinating. We should have been told this. And is it true? Is it really true? And I checked, everybody's saying it's true. And I'm like, well, okay, tell me, is this a conspiracy theory? Is this not mainstream science? Is this like a side bit that hardly anyone believes? Maybe there's a better thing. No, this is accepted theory. So I go, okay, well, what's the other half of the moon? Was that just a bit of a rock? It says, no, that was the planet that smashed into Earth. Oh, well, where'd that planet come from? So that's what's been described as Earth's twin planet. Now, it wasn't actually next to Earth. So it sort of goes Earth, then Mars, then twin planet, then Jupiter, in that order. So that's 2 planets away. And so, oh right, well, if it crashed into Earth, there must be what happened to the rest of it? It wasn't so small that the whole of it turned into half of the moon, was it? No, the rest of it went back into its orbit, and it's still there, and it's an asteroid belt. Wait, there's an asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter? Yeah. But we're not told about that. I wasn't told about it. I was very excited, I knew about there's rings of Saturn, even rings of Jupiter. Clever me. Didn't realise that there was a whole asteroid belt filling, like it's in an orbit as if it was a planet, and it looks like a destroyed planet. And so I go, okay, all right. So that asteroid belt's there, and there's no such asteroid belts anywhere else, like in our solar system. It's just there. It's between Mars and Jupiter. And in fact, there's a gap where sort of like various theories have said, well, there should be a planet there. You know, as far as, 10th planet or whatever you want to call it. So this is a bit of a strange little thing. And I'm going, well, it's not strange because it sounds amazing. It's strange because we weren't told about it. And I wasn't told about it. And I'm like, are you sure this isn't a fringe theory? No, not a fringe theory at all. This is just what happened. Not only that, the asteroids from that asteroid belt hit the Earth a lot. And they hit the Earth because they have this magnetism connecting them to the former part. You fucking arsehole. The former part of the Earth, of the planet, which is now the other half of the moon. So they're connected to the moon. So they want to aim at the moon, but sometimes they hit the Earth on the way to the moon. And these asteroids were not just, if they hit the Earth today, of course they'd be bouncing off and not much had happened to them. They'd be destroyed into tiny little particles, burnt up, turned to dust. They'd probably even help to form a thicker atmosphere. But of course, that wasn't always the case. We haven't always had an atmosphere. And in fact, these asteroids helped to form an atmosphere. So without them hitting, we wouldn't have an atmosphere. We burnt to a crisp. And not only that, it even goes further than that. The asteroids carried ice, which formed Earth's first water. Without that, we wouldn't have water. And you're like, are you serious? All of this has been hidden from us. It's not a hide, it's not a secret. But it's just, they've decided not to teach school children about it. If you were taught this in school, good on you. I wasn't. And I'm sort of like going, well, I'd be able to grasp that as a primary schooler. Certainly by high school I'd be able to go, oh yeah, well, this is fascinating, yeah. So I go, well, why wasn't it told? So I go onto Wikipedia and I'm thinking, well, Wikipedia is not exactly a reliable source. And they lie. Wikipedia lie like crazy. Oh my goodness, they lie so much. And Wikipedia says, a now disputed theory. Disputed or discredited. Oh, what a pity. So it's been discredited. Well, who discredited it? And they've got all this stuff and they're saying, well, told that it wasn't true. It just not likely. The planet would have been too big. What happened to the moon that hit it? And so forth. I go, okay, geez, I've been conned. All right, let me tell me what about this other theory. And there is no other theory. Oh, okay, so someone discredited it, said, that's bullshit, and then didn't bother to create another theory. Or maybe that other theory they created is hidden. It certainly doesn't exist. Or at least I couldn't find it. Wikipedia didn't have any information about it. So, all right, well, tell me another theory. And it turns out there is another theory. Yay, I found one eventually. It's called the Theia theory, the Theia, Theia, whatever. And it's essentially the same fucking theory, but with a different name for the planet. Instead of calling it Phaeton, they call it Theia. And instead of Phaeton being hit by a moon of Jupiter, it's on an erratic orbit. They call it a rogue planet because it just flies around wherever it feels like it and just randomly hit Earth. So it's the same theory. This one hasn't been discredited. So, same theory, just a name change. And instead of having a moon hit the planet then hit Earth, you've got the planet hitting Earth by itself. There's a variance, it's the same theory. And of course I can't blame Wikipedia alone for this lie, but people have been lying a lot for a long time, and why would we want to lie about this? And I sort of rack on my brain, sort of theorise, and why would they want to lie? Not just Wikipedia, but the people behind this dishonesty. And then you have, well, that theory, that proof that the moon is part Earth and part another destroyed planet. That proves creation theory, not just of Christianity, but of every religion. It proves that perhaps not all the specifics of it, but that generally they're telling the truth. That they're not just making things up. That they are at most guessing. Sorry, at worst guessing. And essentially, there's this whole claim that science and religion are incompatible. Well, there you go. If you accept that scientific theory, which hasn't been disputed at all. There is no alternative to it, except for another one, which is the exact same fucking theory, but with one minor change. Except either of those theories, or some other minor variants, it's still the same story as the creation theory. You've still got someone giving life to Earth, and you've still got all of this important information there. So why are we lying about it? Because we want to hide the fact that religions are not liars. Sure, they might disagree about some minor points, but generally they're telling the truth. And they're telling the truth. And in fact, the only thing that religions are lying about is the claim that there's only one true religion. The claim that other religions are not just the same religion told from a different point of view. That's the only thing they're lying about. And if you just say, well, all religions are the same religion and they're proven by science, there you go. We don't have to fight anymore. So then you see who's really behind these lies. It's not the people at Wikipedia, of course not. They didn't start the lies, they just repeat it and make it worse. But the people behind these lies are the people that want us to have fights. They want us to have wars so that they have more power. So they tell these lies. They tell a lot of other lies, but they tell these lies so that we can think that being religious and which religion you are means whether you're a good or bad person, and that it has nothing to do with being a good person. It just has to do with which belief you believe in, or whether you believe in science and which science you believe. And that's what it's all about. They're turning good people against good people whilst hiding evil. There is real evil in the world, and it's not just some other religion. It's just people, the kind of people that lie about this sort of thing, the kind of people that create war for no reason, that create conflict for no reason. And if you want to think, well, why is it important to know that the moon is not a moon? That's why. Because that, and there's a lot of other things too, but that is one reason why we have our wars, why we aren't all just getting along, why good people are turned against evil people. So, good people turn against good people and evil people just hide. Evil people cause these lies. Evil people tell these lies. Evil people want these lies to happen. And Wikipedia is essentially evil as a group. Perhaps some individuals on there are not evil, but the lie telling and the truth changing is evil. Alright, thanks for that. Bye bye.